Oil shipments to India will be uninterrupted. Japan voiced concern over Chinese military movements. Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you for joining us. I'm Olivia Nicholas and you're watching World Today. Russian President Vladimir Putin offered India uninterrupted fuel supplies on Friday, eliciting a cautious response even as he and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi agreed to expand trade and defence ties between countries with decades-old ties. India, the world's top buyer of Russian arms and seaborne oil, has rolled out the red carpet for Putin during his two-day state visit, his first to New Delhi since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. But New Delhi is also in talks with the US on a trade deal to cut punitive tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump on its goods over India's purchases of Russian oil. India's energy imports are expected to fall to a 3-year low this month following US tariffs and sanctions. Russia has said it wants to import more Indian goods in an effort to grow trade to $100 billion by 2030. Putin said Moscow was ready to continue ensuring uninterrupted fuel supplies to India, following up on comments on Thursday questioning US pressure on India to curb oil purchases from Russia. India appeared cautious about the offer. Japan voiced concern on Friday over Chinese military activities in the region after reports that Beijing had deployed a large number of vessels across East Asian waters this week in its largest maritime show of force to date. Japanese Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi, when asked about Chinese activity in the East China Sea, said Japan was aware of the reports and was closely monitoring Chinese military movements while declining to comment on the specific deployment. Japan said it will maintain a high level of vigilance regarding China's military movements and continuously gather and analyze information. It was earlier reported on Thursday that China was deploying a large number of naval and coast guard ships across East Asian waters, which at one point saw more than 100 at the same time. China's military has not commented, but a spokesperson of its foreign ministry said Navy and Coast Guard activities in relevant maritime areas adhered strictly to domestic and international law. The Supreme Court agreed on Friday to decide the illegality of President Donald Trump's directive to restrict birthright citizenship in the United States. It is a contentious part of the U.S. president's efforts to curb immigration and a step that would alter how a 19th century constitutional provision has long been understood. The justices took up a Justice Department appeal of a lower court's ruling that blocked Trump's executive order telling U.S. agencies not to recognize the citizenship of children born in the U.S. if neither parent is an American citizen or legal permanent resident, also called a green card holder. The lower court ruled that Trump's policy violated the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment and a federal law codifying birthright citizenship rights in a class action lawsuit by parents and children whose citizenship is threatened by the directive. Trump signed the order his first day back in office on the 21st of January as part of a suite of initiatives he has pursued during his second term as president to crack down on legal and illegal immigration. Trump's policies towards immigration have been among the most contentious aspects of both his terms as president, with critics accusing him of racial and religious discrimination in his approach. Iran's Revolutionary Guards Navy fired ballistic and cruise missiles at simulated targets in the Gulf on Friday during a 2-day military exercise aimed at countering foreign threats, as reported by state media. Earlier, Iran hosted an anti-terrorism drill in its northwestern province of East Azerbaijan with members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which, according to state press TV, was intended to signal both peace and friendship to neighboring states and warn enemies that any miscalculation would meet a decisive response. The ground and naval exercises follow a 12-day air war between Israel and Iran in June, during which the U.S. joined Israel in striking Iran's nuclear facilities. State media reported a massive launch of QADR-110, QADR-380 and QADR-360 cruise missiles and 303 ballistic missiles at targets in the Gulf of Oman. Reports also said drones at the same time struck simulated enemy bases. The IRGC Navy began its exercise in its strategic Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman on Thursday. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz narrowly averted a government crisis on Friday after securing an absolute majority for a pensions bill in Parliament on Friday, despite an earlier revolt within his own Conservatives that had highlighted his weak authority. The bill, which raises pension spending by around 185 billion euros over the next 15 years, passed with 318 votes in the 630-seat Bundestag without requiring a last-minute offer of help from the left-wing opposition. Members of the far-right opposition party Alternative for Germany, AfD, in a parliamentary debate criticized Merz for potentially having to rely on the help. On the other hand, members of the Green Party pointed towards past failures of Merz's coalition government together needed support. They cited the bill's passage had been uncertain until the last minute, highlighting Merz's lack of authority over his unruly coalition just 7 months after taking office. The row has also heightened doubts about the coalition ability to pass much-needed reforms to revive an ailing economy, Europe's largest, and rebuild Germany's long-neglected armed forces. Up next, at least 10 dead, 3 injured in karaoke bar fire in Peru. At least 10 people died and 3 others were seriously injured after a fire broke out in a property that functioned as a restaurant and karaoke bar in the city of Huancain in the southern Peruvian region of Puno. The state news agency Andina reported on Friday that the accident may have been caused by the explosion of a gas tank or cylinder during the birthday celebration of a group of students. Local authorities confirmed that among the dead, 8 were men and 2 were women, whose identities have not been officially confirmed, while the injured were rushed to a hospital. Preliminary reports said that the fire spread rapidly and that the absence of firefighters forced neighbors and passerby to try to control the flames with water buckets and fire extinguishers, while the smoke endangered people in nearby homes. Valerio Tapia, mayor of Huancain, told the press that the late arrival of the firefighters worsened the situation since the city does not have its own fire unit. The authorities of Huancain announced support for the affected families and vowed to review safety protocols at entertainment venues. Hundreds of people fled the towns of Huyungi and Katagota in South Kivu on Friday after fresh bombardments and fighting were reported. Eastern Congo has faced a surge in violence in recent weeks despite renewed diplomatic efforts to end decades of conflict involving armed groups and cross-border tensions. The escalation has triggered repeated waves of displacement, adding to an already severe humanitarian crisis and straining communities hosting those fleeing clashes in North and South Kivu. Displaced families arriving in Sangay said explosions struck Luvungi earlier in the day, causing deaths and widespread panic, while others reported clashes around Katagota and crossfire reaching nearby Kamanyola. The incidents prompted a mass fight from the area as residents sought safety further south. Local authorities and humanitarian actors said the provisional toll from the latest attacks over the past 3 days included several deaths through communication challenges and continuing insecurity, had made it difficult to assess the full scale of casualties and displacement. India's aviation minister Ram Mohan Naidu said on Friday that the Indigo crisis would be investigated by a committee as air travel across India was in turmoil for a fourth day after the airline cancelled over 1,000 flights. In a bid to improve air travel safety, Indian authorities have introduced new stricter regulations limiting pilot flying times and placing tighter restrictions on the operation of nighttime flights. But Indigo admitted it failed to plan properly ahead of a 1st November deadline for the measure's introduction, with air travel now approaching its December peak that has forced widespread flight cancellations this week that have stranded thousands of travellers. At airports from Mumbai to Bengaluru, stranded passengers scrambled to find ways to reach their destinations, saying the disruptions could cost them job interviews or force them to miss weddings. Following a request by Indigo, India's civil aviation authorities granted it a temporary exemption from some of the new rules on Friday to help it deal with the crisis. The head of India's aviation regulator appealed to pilots for cooperation during the crisis, stressing that body was committed to implementing the pilot rest and duty rules in letter and spirit. Streaming giant Netflix said on Friday it will buy film and television studio Warner Bros. Discovery for nearly $83 billion, the entertainment industry's biggest consolidation deal this decade. The acquisition, which will face regulatory scrutiny by the Trump administration and is opposed by top names in Hollywood, give Netflix access to a vast film catalogue as well as the prestigious streaming service HBO Max. Over the decades, Warner Brothers has produced film classics including Casablanca and Citizen Kane, as well as more recent blockbuster shows including The Sopranos, Game of Thrones and the Harry Potter movies. The biggest previous such deal was Disney's $71 billion acquisition of Fox in 2019. Amid echoes of criticism and puzzlement about the deal, Netflix's share price was down by more than 3% on Friday. The transaction, which is unanimously approved by the boards of both companies, is to close within 12 to 18 months. Coming up, 2026 World Cup draw kind to favourites. World number 2 women's doubles pair Perithan and Amtina are set to make their debut for Malaysia at the upcoming Thailand SEA Games. The duo expressed eagerness to make a strong impact and bring pride to the nation at the biennial competition. Tina, in a statement issued by the Badminton Association of Malaysia, said both of them are really excited to finally compete at the SEA Games. However, she said that every point counts and every match is important as they are ready to give everything they have. Malaysia's challenge will also be bolstered by the world number 22 pair, Teo Mei Sing and Go Pei Ki, in the women's doubles and team events. The national women's doubles team last clinched SEA Games gold through Amelia Alicia and Seli and Song Fi Cho in 2015. Malaysia's women's team event victory dates even further back, having last been secured in 2009. The national women's football team, known as the Malayan Tigress, went down with a whimper after being hampered 7-0 by Vietnam in the opening Group B match at the SEA Games Thailand 2025 at the TNSU Stadium in Chonburi last night. Vietnam dominant from start to finish, went 4-0 up in the first half with goals from Pham Hai Yen in the 4th and 26 minutes, Nguyen Thi Bit Choi in the 23rd minute and Tran Thi Hai Lin in the 32nd minute. It was then left to Tai Thi Thao to rip the Tigers apart with a second half hat-trick in the 49th, 59th and 78th minutes. Malaysia, who arrived in Chonburi on Wednesday, will face Myanmar on the 8th of December before taking on the Philippines on the 11th of December at the same venue. Only the group winners and runners-up from Groups A and B will advance to the semi-finals on 14th of December, with the final and third placing match scheduled for 17th of December. The Malaysian Paralympic Council, MPM, is optimistic that the National Youth Para contingent will be able to record positive results at the 2025 Asian Youth Para Games in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, UAE, starting this Sunday. President Dato Sri Mega D. Shahriman Zaharuddin said the main target is to improve on the 2021 edition in Bahrain, where Malaysia brought home 3 gold, 4 silver and 5 bronze medals. According to him, MPM is not setting a specific medal target, but is placing its hopes on 3 main sports, aquatics, powerlifting and badminton, as the primary contributors to the country's medal tally.
Makluman untuk sasaran kali ini semestinya kita mahu lebih daripada sebelum ini semasa di Bahrain Manama, dan kami tidak meletakkan satu sasaran untuk mereka seperti kontingen, tetapi setiap atlet dan setiap persatuan para yang menghantar wakil, mereka tahu mereka harus capai sasaran mereka.
Earlier, the Jalur Gemilang handover ceremony to the national contingent was officiated by the Deputy Youth and Sports Minister Adam Adli Abdul Halim that was held yesterday. This edition will see 29 national athletes carrying the challenge in 8 events, namely boxia, para badminton, archery, table tennis, athletics, swimming, powerlifting and taekwondo. Malaysia has chosen to host the 2027 SEA Games from the 18th to the 29th of September, involving 4 main clusters, Sarawak, Penang, Johor and Kuala Lumpur, and will feature 38 sports. Youth and Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh said the selection of sports to be contested was made in accordance with the Southeast Asian Games Federation (CGF) stipulations, the suitability of the existing venues and additional considerations such as the list of core sports, the Road to Gold RTG program and the Podium program. Additionally, the selection of the dates takes into account the university holiday season as well as the weather conditions before the monsoon season.
Tarikh yang dipilih secara strategik kerana 18 September merupakan musim cuti universiti, manakala dari sudut meteorologi, tempoh ini masih sebelum bermulanya musim tengkujuh, sekaligus memastikan keadaan cuaca lebih stabil untuk penganjuran sukan luar. Penetapan tarikh ini juga dibuat bagi memastikan tamasya berlangsung selepas Hari Kebangsaan dan Hari Malaysia serta tidak bertemu dengan sebarang acara besar yang lain.
Sarawak has been selected as the main cluster and will host the opening ceremony with 17 sports being contested. Meanwhile, the 14th ASEAN Para Games is scheduled to take place from 17 to 23rd of October 2027 in Kuala Lumpur, featuring 18 sports. The national Petanque squad is upbeat about hitting the target of 4 medals at the Thailand SEA Games, a goal recently set by the Malaysian Bowling Sports Federation. National head coach Nasir Muhammad Noor said the team is not only capable of meeting the target but also has a real shot at winning goal, with the mixed triples event seen as their best opportunity.
Atlet kita ada peningkatan lah di kedudukan yang terbaik lah, dan dari segi latihan pula dari ikhlas hati saya memang saya nampak atlet ni memang orang kata ada potensi untuk mendapat pingat sasaran dan mungkin lebih dan apa yang kita menyertai tuan Asia Cup pun di luar Jakar pun kita ada di sumbangan pingat untuk tim Malaysia.
In the previous edition in Cambodia, Malaysia collected 1 gold, 1 silver and 3 bronze medals out of the 44 on offer. The 2026 World Cup will kick off on the 11th of June with joint host Mexico playing South Africa at the Azteca Stadium, venue of the 1970 and 1986 finals, followed by South Korea against a playoff winner after the draw was made on Friday. South Africa are appearing for the first time since 2010 when they drew with Mexico in the opening match but failed to reach the knockout stage. Fellow hosts, the United States and Canada, will join the party the next day against Paraguay and a playoff winner, possibly Italy, respectively in Los Angeles and Toronto. Defending champions, Argentina were grouped with Algeria, Australia and Jordan, while 5 times winners Brazil will play Morocco, semi-finalist in 2022, Haiti and Scotland. France's first game will be against Senegal in a repeat of one of the biggest tournament upsets when the Africans stunned the 10 holders in their first game of the 2002 tournament. England will start against Croatia, who beat them in the 2018 semi-finals, and also face Panama, who they beat 6-1 in the group stage in the same tournament. A newly introduced seeding system ensures that the current top 4 in the world, Spain, holders Argentina, 2022 runners-up France and England, cannot meet until the semi-final stage if they win their groups. The 48 teams, including 6 still to be decided playoff winners, were divided into 12 groups of 4 to produce a mammoth 104 match schedule across 16 cities in the US, Canada and Mexico, culminating in the final in New Jersey on the 19th of July.
In Group B, we have Canada, the winner.
Up next, Italian Alps glow in dazzling winter display. Bollywood stars Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol on Thursday unveiled a bronze statue of themselves as their iconic characters from award-winning Hindi film Diwale Dulhania Le Jayenge in London's Leicester Square. Pulling back on a drenched blue cloth in the UK's capital's rain-swept heart of cinema, the Indian actors revealed Raj and Simran immortalized for all fans to see, making Diwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, or DDLJ as it is affectionately known, the first ever Indian film to be honored with a statue in the square. The unveiling, also attended by CEO of Yash Raj Films, Akash Vidhani, marks 30 years of the historic 1995 blockbuster that holds the Guinness World Record for being the longest-running Bollywood film. The Raj and Simran statue joined others as part of the scenes in the Square Sculpture Trail, including Paddington, Bugs Bunny, Harry Potter, Mr. Bean, Gene Kelly from Singing in the Rain, and the recently revealed likeness of actress Renee Zellweger as Bridget Jones last month. Brixen, a town in the Italian Alps, marked the 10th anniversary of its winter light shows with a new production created in collaboration with UNICEF and celebrated Italian composer Giorgio Moroder. The performance, titled Oops, features an original score composed exclusively for the event by Moroder, a South Tyrol native and pioneer of Eurodisco and electronic dance music. Known for his Oscar-winning work on film such as Midnight Express, Flashdance and Top Gun, Moroder said he did not need much convincing to take part in the UNICEF project.
Non hanno dovuto convincermi a far la musica per questo show, poi e anche per l'UNICEF che aiuta molto. Prima di tutto la storia è bellissima. Non è solo per bambini, è una storia che vale per tutti. Poi a Natale la gente vuole qualcosa di romantico, che ti porta via dallo stress e ti aiuta a vivere.
Staged inside the historic Bishop's Palace, a landmark in Brixton, the 20-minute show follows the journey of the little creature Oops navigating the city before finding its home. Alpinists from across Kosovo dressed as superheroes, including Spider-Man, Superman, Captain America and Catwoman, as well as in Santa costumes, climbed down at Pristina's Children's Hospital to deliver gifts to sick children on Friday. This year marks the 6th consecutive edition of the initiative aimed at easing the pain of hospitalized children.
Nuk moj me imagjinu kur e shoh një fëmijë të buzëqesh ose të përqafu, edhe thjesht me ditë që dhe normalisht edhe gjithë superheronjtë tjerë janë ata të cilët ja kanë ndreq ditën. Po një gjë duhet me harru që herojtë e vërtetë ndodhen brenda këtyre dritareve, ndërkaq ne jashtë veç po mundohemi me zbute edhe me i bë të paktën me buzëqesh për një periudhë.
The alpinists then visited the children's wards, going door to door to bring a gift to each child. While the donations collected from the events will be distributed to children in the hospital. A rare Sinag-knotted dinosaur skeleton and the Bat-Pod vehicle from 2008 Batman film The Dark Knight are some of the lots on offer during auction house Christie's current Classic Week. Made up of 100 preserved fossil bones, Spike the Dinosaur leads Christie's Groundbreakers Icon of All Time sale on December 11 with a price estimate of £3 million to £5 million.
So Spike is in excellent condition. Most of the other animals like him that have been discovered are very fragmentary, so just a wing here, a leg there, maybe even a fragment of jaw has been used to describe an entire species. So Spike is composed of 100 fossil bones, which is almost without precedent in the fossil record.
Also among the auction highlights is the Bat-Pod vehicle built for The Dark Knight, in which actor Christian Bale played Batman, with an estimate of £300,000 to £500, and the original artwork for the Eagles Hotel California album cover, which has an estimate of £40,000 to £60,000. Christie's is running its Classic Week of sales from the 2nd to 11th of December. Stargazers in the Canary Islands were treated to a spectacular sight on Thursday as a supermoon lit up the night sky. The phenomenon drew attention across the Spanish archipelago, with many pausing to admire the unusually bright lunar display. Known as the Cloud Moon, December's full moon shone brilliantly over Gran Canaria, casting a silver glow across the island's landscapes. According to Royal Observatory in Greenwich, London, a supermoon occurs when a full moon appears within 10% of its closest distance to the Earth, meaning it is sometimes closer, appears larger and brighter to us than at other times. There are typically 3 to 4 supermoons in a year. That concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Putin vows all shipments to India will be uninterrupted. Till then, I'm Olivia Nicholas. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you for watching. Have a good afternoon, Malaysia.